The shark has not returned. Maybe he didn't need to. Maybe he never left. Maybe he is about to bite any moment now. Panic rises in my chest. I reach out around me, sure the moment has come. Find only water. My fingers have gone numb. My hands almost there as well. I try to breathe deep. Try to relax. Try to stay alive. The lightning seems to be moving closer. Each flash like a giant strobe providing a snapshot of the lonely avenues of death. The unforgiving rocks. The endless sea. And somewhere the shark. A living, breathing bullet with jaws of interlocking blades. I no longer believe in hope. There isn't any room left inside me. I am trapped in the valley of death, and there is plenty to fear. Much more than simple evil. There is dumb luck in the unforgiving world and the conveyor belt of Darwin's great discovery and the inevitable loss that comes to those who truly gamble. There is so much to fear that even love is pushed aside. But what of love? Is love magical, mystical, or is it chemical? An evolutionary mechanism, a survival catalyst? To me, it has become a shadow. It has revealed itself as always having been little more than that. It has become a doomed dream that I believed in long after it died, being the final true believer and the last to know. I had a lyric that went, running out of dreams, walking in my sleep, estimating infinity, a wounded wolf counting sheep, falling for the trap of standing my ground, foundations crumbling, I am tumbling down, down, down. To me, love was that trap. Love was what gave life meaning, the thing that was worth the struggle, worth the fight, no matter how fiercely waged the battle. Except that in the end it was like any war, all losers. The idea of a winner suddenly confused by tragedy everywhere, a guessing game like estimating infinity. The mighty wolf now a shadow after many battles for his soul, content to count sheep instead of stalking in bloody glory. And now I was out of dreams and fleeing those that lingered. Every dream was regret because the great beliefs I had in my life, the belief in myself and the belief in love making me more than I had ever been, those beliefs had led me here, to this cold, weary ache, this wondering which way to die, this wandering in ragged circles, running out the clock on hope and desire. Of course there is love of my family, but what good does that do me now? Where was that love when I was blinded to everything but the sting of Alejandra's lack thereof? Only now I sense it steady in the distance, not a mountaintop of exalted experience, but the steady rising foothills that begin every journey to greater heights. I remember a quote from my youth, one of the first bits of poetry that ever stuck with me that had to do with it being better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. This was the rallying cry of my young heart. I begged to be a martyr for love, to offer my heart up and let it become scarred and scabbed and scaled with rough treatment, only to be reborn anew in the kiln of my steady desire. Any pain or suffering was worthwhile in the service of love. But that belief was inextricably linked to a faith that in the end it would be worth it. There would be someone for everyone. There would not be a lonely death in dark waters with love heavy in your heart like a stone, pulling you away from the oxygen that let you sing its song. I wish that I could say, fuck love. I wish I could resolve that if I made it out of this alive, I would turn my back on love's cruel temptations, at least on the treacherous peaks of mountaintops, and make my home in the safety of the foothills, even if it meant never seeing beyond the same unchanging horizon. That I wouldn't covet that rare air, but I know that I'm a fool for a long shot. I would put my finger in the wind and take my chance whichever way it's blowing. I wonder about those who seem to have conquered love, those with the mortgage and the 2.5 kids and the spouse that shares their bed every night. Did they stop seeking because they found what they were looking for, or did they give up? Did they realize that this was as close as they were going to get, and it would have to be close enough, that they could build a life from this and sleep easy at night, knowing they'd done the best they can? Because I don't think there are too many people who really have it in them to duke it out with love, to take love the distance. Most people get popped in the mouth a couple times and play a defensive game. content to lose on points and believe they could have been a contender. Instead of risking it all and likely getting knocked out, they settle for an amateur career and a few runner-up trophies on the mantle. And for all the dreamers, the strivers and achievers, there's a chance at Olympic gold and a million chances at nothing at all. But maybe I'm not being fair to love, be it chemical or clinical or magical or mystical. It kept me alive for many years when others seemed to simply stay alive out of habit. I mean, it just seemed to come so easy to most, and I just couldn't get the hang of it. But love was the beacon in the storm, the distant shore that mocked as it enticed, safety and satisfaction just out of reach, but at least there was something to reach for. Eventually the cold brings me back to the present, bobbing in the ocean like a cork, except corks don't get hypothermia. I'm stuck inside an endless water treadmill, churning away. Have you ever wondered just how far you could push yourself? Like if you were running for your life, could you run a marathon? How deep could you dig if the alternative was digging your own grave? I found out as my arms and legs turn to jelly and lose all coordination. I become spastic with fatigue. Still, I keep throwing my arms out in front of me, dragging them back through the water with all the vigor I can muster. They tremble, too weak to even move steadily. Still, I keep flinging out stroke after stroke. My legs feel useless, like anchors dragging behind me. I do my best to keep them afloat, though my kick is more of a vertical bicycle than a horizontal fly kick. My kicking comes in spurts, allowing me to turn the motor up if I start coming dangerously close to the cliff. For the most part, I stay in one place by swimming steadily at a diagonal towards shore, essentially aiming for the place the opposite-facing cliffs hit the beach. I am on the verge of collapse and don't know what I'll do when that point comes. Maybe make one last try at grabbing the rocks. It isn't a pleasant thought. I know I can't make it until morning, but I'm not ready to give up. I am still alive. For now, I am still alive. Lightning flashes. The cliffs are massive and forbidding, the sky cut in half by their bulk, one section blotted out by the terrible stone wall. I do my best to erase the vast endlessness of the ocean and take it one wave at a time. I imagine myself battling an elemental force, trying to make this into a game, imagining a giant mech warrior type robot standing taller than Godzilla, stomping along the horizon, blasting at the ocean to send the waves at me. I try to distract the focus away from my aching body, my spaghetti arms and rubber legs. I think I may be losing my mind. I hear a voice over the wind, my brother's voice, but it's not coming from the shore. It's coming from the cliff. I peer up into the blackness, hoping to see him silhouetted against the night sky, wearing a jetpack ready to show me what it really means to be a hero. But there is only blackness and the hint of a voice. The last voice I ever hear will be my own mind losing its way, invoking my brother's call in an auditory mirage of hope. And then lightning flashes, and I see it. The rope. Hanging down the cliff face, there is a rope. Has that been there the whole time? Surely not. Somehow my brother has figured out my predicament despite the veil of black. He has managed to scrounge together some rope and now he has lowered it over the edge of the cliff. Salvation has come. The shark will have a hungry night. No matter that the end of the rope dangles a good 7 feet above the level of the water and well out of my reach, I have a plan. A dangerous plan, sure, but anything to break the monotony of battling the army of waves. Any way to risk my life in the cause of life, to at the very least make a surprise of death. As the waves pass the level of the water rises. If it is a big enough wave, it might rise high enough to lift me to where I could reach the dangling rope. A wave crashes and I have the impending whirlpool to deal with. As soon as I have calm seas again, I turn the motor up full throttle, swimming out to sea, trying to get into position on the seaward side of the rope, so that I can catch the wave and then hopefully grab a hold of my salvation without being smashed too hard into the cliff. It is going to be a risky maneuver and one that requires a high level of concentration. You have to understand that these are big, powerful waves coming hard and fast. This is high tide in a stormy sea in a place known for its dangerous surf. Each wave sends sprays of water up as high as the top of the cliffs, at least 100 feet, as it imposes its energy on the indifferent stone. I'm not sure if I'd be better off trying to skirt along the side of the cliff and catch the rope as I pass by, or going straight at it and bracing properly for the impact with the cliff. The rope looks like it will be thin and difficult to grip, probably cobbled together from whatever scraps the local villagers had lying around, not like the thick climbing ropes actually designed for the purpose, so taking any more damage to my hands or feet is no good. I am already going to be questionable for climbing this rope. It is all I have, though. All or nothing. Fucking A. As it turns out, I don't really have a choice in the matter. I plan on trying to steer myself into the rope and hopefully being able to catch myself against the cliff face, just hopefully taking the impact and gutting it out. But I overestimate how much control I'll be able to exert once I'm getting thrashed by the wave. As it is, I can barely reach out and touch the rope as I tumble by. I scrape my knuckles up pretty badly, but I get a hold of it briefly, only to have it pulled from my hand as the wave's momentum carries me on, sending me back first into the wall. I have the instinctive sense to duck and cover once I lose the rope, so when I hit the cliff face, I am tucking into a fetal position with my hands up around my head, and I kind of roll from the back over my neck and head like I do a backward somersault underwater along the cliff face. Before I know it, the wave has passed and I am getting sucked back into the whirlpool. Somehow I have escaped this encounter with the cliff with little more than some scratches on my back and neck. I flail my way out of the whirlpool, as weary as I've ever been. My muscles seem permanently loaded with lactic acid. The moment I stress them, that familiar ache is there. It has become part of the program, and as such I ignore it and bid my shoulders to rotate and my body to float. As soon as the wave passes and the whirlpool has burned itself out, I do my diminished version of sprinting into position near the rope. This time I get right up next to it, bobbing beneath it, one hand on the cliff wall to keep myself from getting too close. I don't want to get scraped along the rock as I am lifted. As it always does, the next wave comes. It is a big one, lifting me up high enough to make a grab at the rope as the wave smashes around me. I am slammed into the cliff, but when the spray clears with the whirlpool swirling below me, there I dangle from the rope with my ankles in the water. The rope seems to hold my weight. I position myself facing the rock, twisting my body to swing into place, lift my legs up and plant the soles of my feet on the wall, then straighten my legs out, trying to find some purchase with my feet that will allow me to sort of walk my way up the wall until I am high enough that I can get my feet on the rope. No dice. My arms are like jelly. My hands feel like claws, already cramping and losing coordination from their clenching grip on the rope. This isn't how it's supposed to be. In the grand metaphor of life, when it was love of a woman that nearly drove me to destruction, now it is the love of a brother that will lift me from the depths of the ocean, from the depths of despair. But when love finally makes its appearance in the form of a prayer, of a piece of rope, I'm not supposed to be spent. I'm supposed to rally. And so I do. I go from weak and impotent, desperate and lost, to feeling extremely pissed off. It is all I can do to not let go of the rope with one hand in order to smash my fist into the rock face. I've gotten past the point of being angry at my impending death. Even with this new sliver of hope insinuating itself into my destiny, I could still face my death like a man. Like if I make it halfway up this wall and die falling, that would be okay. But what would not be okay would be to hang here like a sack of flour for a minute and then drop back into the water without any moment of heroic effort. I need that moment where I dig down to the center of my bones, set the marrow alight as emergency fuel. I had a lyric that went, I traded in my blood for the purest kerosene, transplanted fuses for my veins. My heart a bomb to save you, the scattering of the ashes of my mortal remains. Since fire seeks infinite perfection and never stops to strike a pose, I yearn to trade my static for the flicker of flame, forgetting all the times that I froze. Freezing is not an option. Not this time. I need a blaze of glory. Even if it ends in death, I need something, anything. I need something more than nothing at all. My brother is up there somewhere, peering down into the blackness, all the love in his heart willing me upwards. If nothing else, I will smash my head into the wall, Suicide via blunt force trauma. Anything but dropping listlessly back into the ocean, back to being a slave to current and cold and waiting for my servitude to end the only way a slave's servitude does. But somehow I feel too mean to die. Like if death comes calling, I'll stop him with a look. I feel like a bullet, dull and blunt and packed with malice. I feel like a cruel punchline, the kind that can casually ruin another's life. I feel like a pinball bouncing from forehead to forehead, KOing the world. There was this other lyric that I had that went, I was born irradiated, dark matter density, super concentrated. That was how I felt, like an unloved, unlovable child, born toxic and deadly, grown into living, breathing shadow of dark energy, packed so tight as to carry the weight and potential of a collapsing star. And I kept all this raging energy locked inside me, knowing that to free myself would be to tear myself apart, to end the world by igniting myself as the fuse. I move one foot and find decent purchase, feeling until I find what passes for a ledge I can sort of curl my toes into. Then the next foot, then the next. If I were fresh and full of energy, I probably could hoist myself right up out of the water. But as it so happens to be, I hardly have the core strength to lift my legs up to the wall. Still, I fight to walk my way up, working the ragged rope through my hands, pulling myself up grip by clenching grip. This part of the climb should be the easiest of the whole ordeal, not only because my arms are as fresh as they will ever be, but because the cliff isn't completely vertical at the base, instead providing a very steep slope, probably 80 to 85 degrees. Though slick with rain and ocean spray, I am able to find some purchase with my feet due to the jagged and uneven nature of the rock. It's like there are random rocky treads built into the cliff that allow me to wedge my toes into a crack or gain some purchase in some divot with the balls of my feet. I would have thought my upper body would be completely shot by this point, but adrenaline must have kicked in, because I somehow managed to hoist myself up about a foot at a time. I lift my knees up to my chest so that I am dangling in a sort of half cannonball, hanging from my arms extended straight above me, then feel my way around with my feet, swinging a few feet from side to side if necessary by sort of crab walking my way along the wall. Eventually I find some manner of foothold that will provide some leverage so that I can use the strength of my back and hips to thrust myself upwards. Imagine someone doing pull-ups with terrible form. The way they would use their hips to get momentum is sort of what I am doing. I thrust myself upwards and work my way up hand over hand over hand, lunging thrust after lunging thrust, until I reach an angle where I have to move my feet again. My hands begin aching almost immediately. I know that one can only gut grip strength out so much. It isn't like flailing through the water where a greatly reduced capacity still allows for a degree of functionality. If my grip drops from 100% to 80%, I am going to slip. I do my best to remedy this by taking short breaks where I loop the rope around my wrists, which allows me to greatly reduce the stress on my gripping muscles. My wrists and shoulders ache, but I am past the point of caring. I don't have the energy to care. I am locked in. After about 15 feet of hoisting, probing, slipping, scrambling, and clawing my way up the rope, I find a slight reprieve. There is a small ridge in the cliff face, not nearly enough to stand on unaided, but enough to wedge my toes into up the balls of my feet, such that I can take significant weight off my arms. I can see that the cliff is beginning to straighten up to vertical, and then up above looks to extend out past vertical. I'll definitely lose my ability to walk my way up eventually, and will have to switch out over to the free-hanging rope climbing technique, where you wrap the end of the rope up in your feet to sort of take some of the weight off your hands. This will mean dangling out over the blackness below, which I'm not looking forward to, because even though I'm not yet higher than 15 or 20 feet, I feel as exposed as if I'm hanging off the edge of the world. Like if I slip, I won't tumble back into the unrelenting ocean, but will fall into the unending, uncaring vacuum of the distant wastes of the universe. Just having my feet on the rock face allows me a measure of comfort. Like a baby's favorite blanket, it is more than an object. It is imbued with magic and hope, somehow more in this moment than it was ever intended to be. I am high enough now that I have enough rope to loop the dangling end under my arms and behind my back. That's right, I hold it with my armpits. anything to give my cramping hands a break. I rest for a moment, crane my neck around to look out across the ocean, staring out towards my best guess at the horizon. The clouds snuff out most of the moonlight, so I can hear much more than I can see. Wind blowing hard, rain falling on the water, waves crashing below me, everyone dousing me in spray. Thunder in the distance, then lightning and thunder at once, almost right on top of me. The entire roiling surface of the sea lit up black and deadly, like rows upon rows of cancerous teeth waiting for me to succumb, for the life force to finally give up its hold, for the ghost to give and turn my body from a dream machine into a packet of flesh to be stripped to bone by those rows on rows of endless grinding gears. It is a moment of extreme crisis of confidence, and really is like one of those experiences that feels extra vivid in the moment, and you know will be seared into your mind so that years later, after everything has succumbed to the great clumsy blur of time, this one moment still is right there with you, visceral and essential and branded on the back of your eyeballs. This is one of those moments that creates a defining line between the future and the past, the moment I have always waited for, the long sought after turning point. I can feel it. I have to laugh. Because I've always dreamed of some moment where it is all laid on the line, all coming down to one roll of the dice, and it's only through guts and grit and sheer determination that I make the world happen the way I want it to. And now here is my moment, challenging me in a way I never thought possible. I am chilled to the bone, and my muscles hang limp within my skin like deflated balloons. I have pushed myself to the limit, past the limit, only to find another absolute and ultimate limit that may as well mark the end of the world. I can't push past. I laugh. I laugh at the blood running down my face from my head wound. I laugh at my swollen wrist and aching ankle. I laugh at the sick, nauseated feeling that on any other day would have me in bed, but on this day of days is only an afterthought to the great monolith and abyss pairing of the cliff and ocean. I have finally achieved perfection because I have reached the end of the line. I have run out of options. I have become the tip of the spear, the angel dancing on the head of the pin, and I know that having reached this moment against infinite odds mean my life has been truly blessed. I am reminded of a lyric that goes, "She covets bleeding gums to aid her smile's decoration. She laughs at everything you say and calls it conversation. She connects the dots of random thoughts and calls it constellation. She listens to each heartbeat in the hopes of syncopation, ever since evaporation." It was about this woman I knew who seemed to be so disconnected from the world around her that she seemed to be evaporating before one's very eyes. Her mind was always wandering, her body always indifferent, her soul straining hard at drifting away. I think it is that first line that brings a lyric to mind in this moment, because my wounds are not simply evidence of damage sustained, but a map of the battle I have waged, and I waged it bravely. Otherwise one wound would have been enough, but I wear my blood on the outside as a stripe of war paint down my face. My scrapes and bruises are beacons begging to be recognized. While I haven't changed the ocean or the cliff or this night that is just another night to most everyone but me, I have changed myself. I have finally become the warrior I want to be, fought a battle worth fighting. And though I am losing, though I will lose, I will go down swinging. I will welcome the blood that brings a little color to my cheeks and eyes and chin and nose. I think that verse was about a person seeking meaning in the random universe, not accepting the fact that chaos is the name of the game, and despite our best efforts at order or reason, we can't help but be part of it. And suddenly everything is imbued with crushing meaning. I wonder how I got here. Not physically, I haven't developed amnesia, but how did I turn from the kid with the loving family and the whole world spread out before him to a dying man suspended on the side of a cliff waiting to evaporate? I want to quit, ready to throw in the towel. It is really a very lonely feeling. Like somehow being wrapped in the ocean has provided some security along with the menace of what waited beneath the surface. Like the feeling of being physically touched in some elemental way has reassured me. Even if the ocean wouldn't hold me up, it would help me hold myself up. The endless churning had been a worthy adversary, infinite and impossible to even wound, yet somehow to be defeated. I'd been fighting, questing, a hero of my own life, doing hero's work, but now everything that touches me is pain. My toes and the bottoms of my feet are shredded. The combination of the rough rocks after the softening effects of a long soak has quickly rendered my feet bloody and raw. Despite being looped around my back, the rope is still pain in my hands. My whole body is fatigue, and my hands especially feel like they are solidifying into claws. Everything else just feels heavy. My bones bend like popsicle sticks. My muscles threaten to drop off my body, dripping away like candle wax. I look up. I have a climb ahead of me I have no chance of making, but somehow I have to make it. But I want to quit, but I can't. Knowing that that isn't an option and just frozen by the prospect of having to concentrate my powers once again, they seem to have abandoned me. I want to cry. Then from above I hear Tom's voice, or at least I think I do. I have been so wrapped up in myself I've almost forgotten he was there. And somehow it is worse knowing that Tom is there believing in me, because he believes I can do it. He knows I can do it. He knows I am the big brother who was the unstoppable force leading him into manhood. And having him there means I can't give up. I can't accept that it was impossible all along, even though it was. I have to make it possible. I have to try. I call on my spirits to turn my muscles back to steel, to turn my hands from cramping claws back into wonders of evolution. My spirit does not answer. It is brittle and teetering. I feel stripped down to nothing, only a framework that life used to drape itself across. For the first time since this ordeal began, I forget the fact that I am going to die. A lyric comes to mind. My spirit is a fog burned away, a rainbow sold for parts, now a chassis of gray, a tremor and a tremble and a shudder and a shake. My spirit's about to break. All I feel is loneliness, loneliness snuffing out and suffocating all else. Only one other time in my life had I felt this crushing emptiness, this feeling that what is done cannot be undone, and I was the one who did it.